welcome to all of you again in this last day of the workshop. But as we discussed, good morning. But this is not necessarily the last day. I would consider this as a beginning of your activities that you will be driving. And I think we, the facilitators, will take a back seat. So this is the transition day in that manner. We will have slight changes in our schedule for today. We will introduce a break after 2 hours so that we take a break before we go to the valedictory session. Since we have very wonderful ideas about your project and we have about 25 groups or 25 projects to discuss, we have decided that we will not give you feedback right away because it will take too long and we might run out of time. So in the first session, until next 2 hours, you will be presenting about your project. And what we suggest is do not take long, 2 to 3 minutes, just brief. What is the title? What is it about? Where is it from? And what would you like to do? If you just could do that in 2-3 minutes, you can do it orally, or if you have something to show, that's also fine. Hello, Ginny. Good morning.
Good morning. Hello.
Yeah. So I was just telling them that today's we have slight change because we have had about 25 projects to discuss. So I think we will just listen to them for what the project is all about, very briefly, 2 to 3 minutes.
Okay.
And what we discussed is since we will not have time to give them feedback, we will have additional sessions tomorrow, day after, for next 3 days. And people can sign up for sessions whenever they are free. It's not mandatory. Not everybody has to be there all the time. So you will have individual counseling session in the next 3 days. You sign up for whatever is convenient for you. And we understand that there are festivals going on in this part of the world. So if people are busy, they can do it next week also. Nothing to worry about your schedule. So today we'll only listen to their project ideas. And if there are very burning feedback to give, we'll just take maybe 30 seconds to give that feedback. Otherwise, we'll continue. And then after 2 hours, we'll take a short break before we move into the valedictory session.
Okay.
And in the valedictory session, we had planned to show a summary video and present the certificates digitally. But since the certificates cannot be decided yet because the assignments are not complete, we have now decided to do that part after a month when we do a kind of an exhibition, virtual exhibition or something.
Okay.
So
that's totally okay.
Yeah, thank you, Ginny. So it's okay from ICHCAP side. Do I have consent from our participants? Is that okay with you?
Yes,
the
of
changes
course.
that we have made. If you could, do the thumbs up or raise your hand for that. How many hands up I have? So I think I'll take that as your kind consent. Yes, thanks. So then let's start. Ginny, do you have anything to add before we start?
I'm sorry because Mr. Weonmo, my boss, will come for the valedictory, the closing remarks session. So he will now, we cannot have him now, but he will come after 2 hours later.
Yeah. Okay. That is totally fine. That is completely understood.
Okay.
That is totally fine. Thank you. I think I also see Hanh here. So Hanh, good morning. Thank you for being here.
Good morning.
Good morning. I also saw some of our faculty. Yanis is here.
Even Helga is here.
Helga is here. And then, so wonderful. And probably some more will join. But otherwise, we'll also share with all of them. I mean, they know your initial thought about the project, but after today also, whatever is updated, we will share with them, so they will be knowing. So we'll do that. Before I start, Lubna, I believe that's your consent hand, right? Not the question hand. Okay, I think that's her consent hand.
Very well, consent.
Yes, because that was earlier. Thanks, Lubna. So let's proceed then. Bharvi, would you like to go by group 1, 2, 3, 4 so that we have a track there? You can invite them. So any member from the group can present if you have multiple members, otherwise you present. Please do not take more than 2 to 3 minutes, just a brief introduction so that everybody knows, and then we'll discuss it more detail in the coming days. I think this has been very exciting. So I will let Bharvi start and coordinate this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, and good morning, good afternoon from wherever you are. So the first project is by Kalyani Bora and Kajal Sharma on the mask making culture of the Majuli Island in respect of the Satriya culture.
Myself, Kalyani Bora, and that's my teammate Kajal Sharma. So I'm from Assam and she is from Chandigarh. We both take this element as of our topic for the proposal. So it's about the mask making culture of Majuli in respect of Satriya culture. So the Satriya culture is very prevalent in Assam. I'm from Assam, so I have seen it very closely. So I have seen that the Satriya culture is very prevalent. But the thing is, there's some elements of Satriya culture which are very integral part of the culture, but also not really recognized or not really identified by the each and every Assamese people. So by airing them about the potentiality and the credibility they hold, so to present this in national or like in future, if possible, internationally. So that was the idea behind this, and we have done some background research as well. Also, we made some kind of indicators also where this will goes or this will succeed in which kind of fails. So initially we are planning to start with a questionnaire so that we know the concept of that community who lives there in Majuli. So here we mentioned our methodology or action plan that we are planning to do. We have also initiated with some of that. We contacted some people who are the stakeholders or who makes the marks prominently. So we contacted few of them. We also approached the authorities, like that is the assistant commissioner of the Majuli district. So we approached her, and she was very she appreciated. Also, she is ready to help us in future if this proposal goes further. Also there are some other community other organizations who are working on different aspects of Majuli. With the help of them, we can initiate our proposal as well. So Majuli is also not about only cultural aspects, it's about biodiversity as well. So with all the elements there which is present and which is very significant, we can take it to a further level, as if we were aware of, like Majuli has been also nominated for the World Heritage Site by the government of India. So if we can contribute to that proposal as well, that will be great. That's our plan for now. Yeah.
Also, we will try to bring up the sustainable development goals in this ICH, in this element of mask making, as mask making is just not about masks. These masks are also used for that cultural dance that is prevalent there, that is Ankian art and Bhavna. So also there will be the songs. So we will try to make the livelihood. The three sustainable goals are in our mind. That is, first is livelihood, and second is quality education, and then is gender equality, where we will try to make the women participation. We will look into that. The first thing in this proposal is just to document it so that we can know the consent of the community. Also, we will know what's the ground reality for that. And then later we will try to gain a larger objectives of this goal, because we will try to come up with local elements and also the national elements in this scenario. Thank you.
Thank you. I think this is going to be an interesting project. So through the mask, they are going to look at multiple dimensions within this community and has really the local and the national issues addressed. We had a brief discussion with them yesterday, so I'm very hopeful for this. Barbie, let's move on to next.
Yeah. So next we have Diane Nafi, but I don't think they are here. They haven't attended. So we move on to project 3, which is Rithik, Pramod and Neha Panwar on the Chatara tribal art. Rithik, Pramod, I think he just entered the...
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Could you give a few minutes? I'll...
Rithik, if you need some more time, can we come back to you after another presentation? You can get ready
sure.
by then. Yeah,
sure.
Okay. So project 4 is Lumbini craft making by Chandra Prakash Pathak and Mrs. Ruth De Costa.
I am Chandra Prakash Pathak from Lumbini, Nepal. So my project is about grass craft making in Lumbini. So from in Lumbini, the local Lumbini is also a World Heritage Site of Nepal. So it is a cultural place, the birthplace of Buddha, and the community. There is a huge community which is located, which is involved in grass craft making for years. So as you can see, I have documented some the process of the grass craft making of Lumbini. So from birth rituals to death, the grass craft is used here in every customs and rituals. So in every custom, the products of grass like baskets and other things are very much used in the community. There are many community and each of the household, they make grass craft for years. And the grass, one grass is mooj that is used, and another grass is kasa. So these two grass are used for the weaving of the craft. So I have documented some of these, and I think this can be documented further. And for the project, I will go in the committee for making the inventorying process with your help, since I'm new to this ICH element inventorying process. So as you can see, there are many processes involved, from sourcing the raw material to coloring it and making the products. There is a whole indigenous knowledge involved in this process. So these are the final products which are made by the artists. So these are the new products, modern products, because now the community is involved in making products which the tourists can buy. So they were making such products for their own use, but now they are shifting towards for tourism market. They are shifting for tourism market, so they are making new products like these, so they can sell them to support the livelihood. Because the new generation would need some income from the craft making, so that they are encouraged to make new products so that they can also support their family and keep the tradition alive. So with me, Ruth De Costa is interested to participate in this project and in future. So in coming days, we will work together to document this ICH element. Thank you.
Thank you, Chandra Prakash Chatterjee. I think this is wonderful. You have already done basic level of documentation as a process. So what is important here is the knowledge and the skills, and then perhaps to contemporize it or promote it. So I think another level of project can be done. So we'll discuss more in detail whenever you have time in the coming few days. But thank you very much. Let's move on to next.
Yeah, Rithik, are you ready with your presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Okay, good morning, Honorable President here. So the project I'm going to take is the study of Chatara art of Karnataka. So it's basically a state in India for adults. So the aim of and objective of my project is to make people aware about the tribal folk art of Karnataka and documentation of the symbols found in the art form and understanding of those specific symbols and to understand the social cultural background of the particular community and to create awareness about the art and preserving it. As you can see in India, you can have the most famous ones are like the Madhubani and the Goand art or the Karumba art or like the Warli, Tanjavur, Saurashtra. All these are important and they have proper preservation and other sources for it. But when you come to the social background, cultural background of the Devaru community, so they're basically an agrarian nature of worshippers and they have a matriarchal form of society. And for the community, the water is very important for them as a part of their culture. And they use it for all the customary practices from childbirth, marriage, death, and other rituals. And there is no social rivalry among the community. And women are given high respect and associated with all the rituals. And as you can see, they are from the Sagar. This is a map of Karnataka. And then you can see they are from the Sagar Taluk of the Shimoga district. And these are the Devaru community. As you can see, this is how the art form is. And the Chitara art and the process of the materials used. So the women use only natural materials, like they create themselves and then they immerse themselves in the practice. And they use rice flour and red earth, the color, coal, only whatever is found near them. They don't use any other materials or any other thing which they have to artificially make. It's all natural. The art is all natural process. So the preservation is a little difficult considering they're all made from the natural sources. So it takes time to preserve in the walls also. As you can see, the art is very intricate form. So it's a very huge respect and process for them. If you probably seen in the Shimoga district, if you probably go to their house, each house has this particular intricate out there. It's like a respect for their ancestors and they try to preserve it, but unfortunately due to the globalization and other aspects, since the future generation have to shift to the villages and cities, the art is declining a little bit and it's only restricted to the older generation. Now, as you can see, the Chatara's art over here, there are each symbols with variety of meanings. So if you can see, all these have specific meanings for their community. So through these projects, I like to understand what they actually mean to the community because each symbol have a huge significance for them, which can be found in the art. So their intricate details are so small that people keep wondering how many are there. So in a particular art form, there may be around 90 to 80 symbols which have very important meanings. So in this, I found a little and I have managed to put it here. Now the conservation and the vulnerabilities of the tribal art. I'm sure as most of them understand the tribal art because of globalization has been affected the culture and of the indigenous people around the world. And most of the tribals art are kept in private museums or rich households. So there's no proper documentation and understanding of the importance of the art. Even though the government is trying, but they're not having any funds or they're not having any proper means to document it, and people and normal NGO, like small NGOs around Bangalore, are trying to bring it up, and so that the government and other cultural organizations can take up the project and develop it so that people understand the importance, because there aren't many historical records or any other literary sources where you can find this particular art. It's all done through oral tradition. So the preservation of that oral tradition is very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Rithik. I think this is a good case, but just a quick comment on your title. I think here we're not looking at a study kind of a project. I think it's more about the methodology, the process we'll follow while dealing with the ICH element and how it contributes to the sustainable development. So I don't know if you have missed out any of the sessions in the past on various aspects, various issues. You might want to watch them before you move ahead with the proposal. We can discuss more in detail later on, but thanks.
Okay, so next we have Lalen from Philippines, working on Kalukor, that is the fishing technique tradition.
So it's actually a fishing technique, fishing method that I'm interested in. It's called the Kalukor in our dialect, by the sea. I would want to work on this because I believe the technique itself has been passed on generations to generations. So it's traditional. And I want to somehow document the process because the community itself is very much involved. It's like this. They embark at around 5 a.m., 4 a.m. With their boat. Then they make a three like a triangular scene now, kilometers away from the sea, and your the master fisherman at the apex of the local triangular sea is already very small. That is very far already. That was there, and then two groups of men would actually pull the net. Firstly, they'll be pulling rope. That are very, very strong. And then the gap of those two groups of them, sometimes their wives would join, sometimes teenagers would join early in the morning to try to pull until they close the gap, which is even like more than 2 kilometers away from each other. And then as long as they keep on pulling, and then they have the catch ready. By the time that the piece is finished. The one interesting about the technique process is I would want to document that it's actually doing stretching, because there is this that timing that is being planned, signed already by the national government. So you see if this will pursue the black sun mining for 25 years, they will be deprived of their workplace, of their land. So community will somehow perish. So I believe there's a must for this to be started nationally. And then participatory research is what I would want to also do. Focus group discussion, do interviews, surveys, and some analysis of public government. Good thing that the local government has been interested because of the threats that it can happen in the future because of the refining of black money. So this is actually very significant. And then my projected sustainable safeguarding ways to be in the future now. We only do so much for this 2 to 3 weeks assignment, but in the future, the direction will be partnership with Center for Conditional Studies, local government leaders. We do have National Commission on Culture and the Arts, then improve culture merchandise and tourism. It happens, it's all based on this more than 6 or 7, no? Along the stretch of this River Box up to, I guess, like even 4 municipalities on 3, and we would always see them in the morning. Such a site also. Many were disrupted and what. There's social media. So eventually, in the future, who knows, it could also be a space for awareness also, and also make others engage and participate so that they would know that black mining is a step in the goal. If you work facilities, hopefully we will know the government that we also providing the community of the livelihoods and ecosystem will also be affected and also biodiversity. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lillian. I'm glad to see that you are aiming for a participatory approach. But I would just like to flag that, participatory approach has to really go down to the communities and let communities take the initiative rather than big agencies and all that. So just keep that in mind, and we'll discuss more as we go. But just I wanted to flag. Thanks. You can unshare, and we will invite the next. And if we have time at the end, I think I will invite comments from other resource persons as well. But for now, let's move on to next group.
Yeah, so project 6 is on ritual diversity mapping in landscape of Nepal. And we have 6 people team that with Joanne, Taraji, Kamalji, Nenaji, Mekhraj Rai, and Priyanka.
Thank you very much.
Lalen, can you stop sharing your screen?
Good morning, everybody. We are in the initial stage. We don't have any PowerPoint presentation. So I'm going to, in a brief, to share what we have done. Yes, we have now in 6 more peoples, and initially we thought in the project maybe from Nepal's participations and the peoples. So that's the way we developed the ritual diversity mapping in the landscape approach only in the Nepal, that's also in province 1. But we are thinking, because we have an diverse others member as well, maybe we can change this title a little bit, and we can discuss later today or maybe in other days. We had a email chat with the Priyanka yesterday, and we tried to meet together, but it was not possible. So in this area, we think the ritual diversity mapping is very important for us to identify the inventory, to map and the footprints of the ritual diversity and the practices and the linking with the nature, flora, fauna, ecosystems, and biodiversity. So also we can find out the risks, what is the risks and challenges, gaps and opportunity to create the new thinking, maybe let's say in the digital system, and make some kind of tourism, and maybe it's for education bit and some other things. That was the ideas to design these projects. And also in future, maybe we can find out the appropriate way to find out the issues that may be in the ethical issues and other any kind of development issues. And we're thinking it is must be in bottom-up approach. More community can participate in multi-stakeholder approach. If it is short, then we can address the SDG goals somehow. It is our very short, and our members team, you can contribute. And thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Kamalji. It would have been nice if your video was on. At least we could have seen you. But I think this is I had the opportunity to discuss with some of you during the course of the sessions in the past. And I think it's a very complex project, but the good thing is most of you are already doing something there. So it's not start, it's actually you are already working with the communities, and some of you are already member of the communities themselves. So I think it's a very promising project, but very complex one. Would any other members have to add anything to this? Because it's a big team, I think. So we should give some chance to others if there is anything that you need to add. Mekraz Rai, would you like to add something? Please unmute yourself. Looks like he's not able to unmute. So I guess we'll come back to you later on. And glad that you have started the group discussion as well. So thanks. So Barbie, let's move to the next one. Thank you.
Yeah. So next is project 7 on oral history in Lasem by Angela and Fazer.
Hello.
Yeah.
Wait a second. I just give a brief presentation about what we made, but unfortunately Fazer have another activity, so I will in place of her to explain about what we are going to do. So, can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can see it.
So basically, we want to make a collective history about Lasem. Lasem is a city in the Central Java, Indonesia, known as a multicultural city where the Chinese trader is come to Java and then try to live side by side by the Japanese with the Japanese people. So they made some product like we call it batik clothes, where the Lasem itself has a unique batik except with the other area, because they have 3 colors: the blue from the northern coast of Java, the red from the Chinese Lasem, and the brown from the southern Java. In the recent years, tourism to Lasem has increased, but when the COVID-19 pandemic hit, a good portion of the tourism was transferred online. So we want to make an engagement by online in this COVID era. So this is Lasem, where we can see the beautiful sunrise, and also with the batik process making process. So Lasem as multicultural city has a lot of acculturation tangible elements that make the built fabric of the city exist. There we can see there's a World House, which is the acculturation between Chinese and also Java, and a little bit European. Inside with the Chinese people try to live side by side with the Japanese. But what I see, what I saw when I come to Lasem is that the built fabric is deteriorated, but the story from the Lasem people is still remains, and the aging population increasing, which is we need also a younger generation to take part of the city. So in this pandemic era, it's kind of difficult to make it happen, to make tourists or make people know more about Lasem in person. So we proposed a network of team working routes sourced from local heritage, culture group, and residents. We want to combine it with the online platform, or maybe VR or AR, done through a series of anchor points marked by sculpture artwork, where each anchor point would contain information pertaining to its location and theme as recommended by the relevant culture group. And then our methods is, first, we will use a collective cultural mapping and also stakeholder mapping. And also the output from this method, from this approach, we will first have a collective map and then storybook. We want to make a storybook as an informal education product for children, and also team AR or VR walks and contemporary approach to a new batik design of Lasem. So maybe this is what we expect to do to make Lasem known and to spread the information of Lasem to the world, or to people who not know Lasem before. And what we already done, me and Fazer, is we make a cultural mapping and made it into a website. So we already engaged with the local community of Lasem. So we want to make it like a further step into the online platform. Maybe that's from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Angela. I think this is also very exciting. You are connecting tangible with intangible, and it's a place-based. Only thing that keeps me wondering, like one of the previous project, is what is the nature of participation you are looking at? Because as these things are developed, how community would own it? Because at the end of it, it has to be owned by them. It is for them. So who is doing it, and in what manner? I think that you may want to think about, and we can discuss about it as we go. And I'll request our resource persons who are present here to take some notes, and hopefully we'll get some time afterwards to come back and give them some quick feedback at the end of it. Thank you. Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah. So the next project is Project 8, ICH, of the tea community of Assam, by Mridu Smita.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you please give me a moment to settle down, actually?
Okay.
The next presentation.
Sure, we can do that.
Is it possible? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll call back.
Yeah, sure.
So we move on to Project 9, which is the blacksmithing tradition in Pampanga, Philippines, by Mark Louis. I think he may have left the, no, he's here. Mark, are you there? Okay, we can move on to the next one then. Project 10 is by Shweta, but she is also not available due to last minute.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm sorry. Someone called me just a while ago. Yeah. I'm from Project 9, and is it okay if I present now?
Yes, you can go ahead.
Right. Thank you, Barbie. So let me just share my screen. I wasn't able to prepare a PowerPoint slide, although I had preliminary research information already about the ICH that I will be working on. So I'm just flashing some of the photographs that I took during that particular time. And then let me introduce the project that I am aiming for. So hopefully in around 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, so the pamagpande or the blacksmithing tradition of my hometown, which is Apalit, Pampanga, has been one of the prominent cottage industries in the town since the colonial period, according to certain sources. Apalit, Pampanga is a town around 2 hours away north of Metro Manila, the capital of the Philippines. So the prevalence of this practice may even be what led to different oral stories, or oral narratives, stating that first, for example, the first metal crafter in the Philippines named Panday Pira actually hailed from my town, although that still has to be checked checked. Earliest ethnographic research, however, can be traced to the research of students of foremost anthropologists in the country, H. Otley Bayer in 1913, which wrote about how involved most of the population of my polity or barangay was in the practice. So involving both men, women, and children. So the liveliness of this craft practice during that time, early 20th century, was due to the predominance of agriculture in my province and the region where it belongs. So to the point that the region is actually called the rice granary of the Philippines. Given how related the products of this ICHs to the activities that are done in the agricultural societies. Due to the changes in society, however, most especially those related to urbanization, industrialization, and the allure of other lucrative professions, the craft practice of blacksmithing has gradually diminished. At present, we are left only with 2 pandayans or forge actively being used. So imagine from a society back then where it is a very ubiquitous practice. Right now, there are only 2 pandayans left, with only around 2 to 4 practitioners left in my town. And then in addition, the master blacksmiths, the ones who can actually perform the entire process of blacksmithing, are at their 70s and 80s already. So I have performed preliminary research and interaction with one of the master blacksmiths, but the focus of that research primarily was the relationship of the practice with spirituality. So more or less, I have some information on the technical process. However, considering that particular perspective of a researcher, I think it still lacks a lot in terms of how myself personally can actually engage more to help to actually assist the particular community or those particular families and master practitioners in how to sustain their practice. So it is an ICH of interest, not only because I come from a line of blacksmiths myself from my hometown. My grandfather was the last generation in my line to practice it. But aside from that, it is interesting for me given how closely intertwined the tradition is with its economics, possibly since the products are primarily utilitarian in nature. Questions such as, would the families be willing to share the knowledge on the tradition, considering that the more practitioners there are, the more competitors there would be, even if the practice has been more communitarian previously. So those particular questions are interesting for me, not only as someone from the hometown, but also as a researcher as well. I also find it a challenging case given how labor intensive the practice is, which takes several decades before someone gets to be considered a maestro pande or a master blacksmith. So that is one big hurdle, which I think is very present if ever we decide to really pursue active efforts to sustain the practice. So this is the reason why the direction of the project starts first with conducting community workshops with the pande or the blacksmiths, families, and immediate community, which would aim at assessing the as-is condition of the tradition vis-a-vis various aspects of its environment, social preparation, in terms of the economics, in terms of the business side of the cultural practice, etc. This is important because the commitment of the bearers themselves should be assured at first. And then that will proceed with systematically documenting the tradition, both at the level of its technicalities, which I already started already, and the values that are actually instilled in the practice, okay, which I think works together with the workshop that I am planning to do. And then further down the line, to brainstorm various means of safeguarding the tradition. So I think the business plan for, at least for the assignment, would be, for my project, would be to really detail out the program or the particular aspects of the workshops that I will be intending to work on with the community. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I think this looks like a wonderful project, and you are already in a very good shape with all the sensitivities, but also you are part of it, so I think it's very promising and glad to know it. We'll discuss more later. Thank you for now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So Mridusmita, are you ready to go next?
Yes. Actually, there is a problem when I only, but I can share my screen. I was not aware about this issue actually. Can you see this?
We should be able to see it sometime. Yeah.
Is it available? I mean, I have no idea what's wrong with my camera.
That's okay.
Maybe. So I'm so sorry about this error, and I have not prepared any PowerPoint presentation, but I did write, I drafted something, but probably not now. I'll just share this screen. So I'll be working on the tea community of Assam, which is one of the major contributing communities in the tea industry in Assam, and this is about, the proposal, it aims to bring light to the community that is involved in one of the major industry of our country, and which is tea. And tea, they have a distinct cultural background, and there are multiple elements of interdisciplinary, and that needs to be documented and promoted, and in this time. And my main objectives would be to document these elements of ICH, and to create an awareness about these communities, which is that is a very lesser discussed topic I have observed till now. And there are multiple problems that communities are facing in this current scenario. So I would focusing to identify these problems in this period, and to work on the potential sustainable development in this case. So I am trying to consult with the community representatives, and soon I'll do more detailed discussions with them to achieve to avail their consent and everything. And now that the tea communities of Assam, they actually, the tea industry of Assam was started during the colonial period, and while the British government started this industries, these tea gardens, so there is a high demand of huge labor force to work on these gardens and in the factories, and the locals of Assam were not inadequate in this manner. That's what the Britishers felt, and they imported a huge amount of labor force from the other colonial states that were Bengal, Orissa, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, and these tribal populations were imported to Assam, and since then in this industry they are working, and it is the hardest labor they are investing in this entire work, and for which we are able to enjoy the much loved Assam tea in India and outside also in a global scenario. So since these communities are coming from multiple ethnic backgrounds, they have a very mixed heritage, and they are habitation, their language, their ritual practices and festivals, it's it's an amalgamation of different ethnic backgrounds, and that is blends so perfectly in Assam, and they are living in Assam within the community, Assamese community also. So they have the language they speak is a mixed language, I can say, and with some Assamese influence and basically multiple languages like Sora, Odia, or any I mean tribal languages, Santali and Gond language, and the Assamese influence acts as a lingua franca in this manner. And in today's scenario, most of these community people are speak in Assamese and along with the other Tatsis, and they are basically followers of Hinduism, and there are other Sainism and other religions also they are following. And one of the major factor of this time is the rapid conversion to Christianity from their ethnic background. Elements, I can say the festivals, they have their dance forms, their different musics, folk traditions and musical instruments, and their food habits, and they have a tradition of tattooing, that is also an element, I believe. And in the current period, I mean since a long past, not in today, they are going through a very hard time that can be identified as their poor living condition and limited daily wage they receive from the authority, the government and other, I mean the tea garden authorities, and their poor health condition, their lack of educations, and I already mentioned about religious version to Christianity, and above all, the outside world is not very much aware of this of these customs and about these communities which are in this industry. So my focus is to document these traditions, to document their lives, and further to analyze that how we can work to for their betterment of their lives and for a sustainable development kind of thing. So I will be working on that. So
thank you, Smita. Thank you. No, I think this is also very interesting because the communities are multiple and they are, as you said, brought in from somewhere else. My only thought would be, okay, the tea industry itself, the big industry, and the communities coming from multiple locations, how does that go? I think we might want to look into that, but probably something very interesting coming out here. We will discuss more. Thank you very much. Before we move on to next one, I'll just remind each of the presenting groups to keep it to maximum 3 minutes, because I'm hoping we'll still have a few minutes at the end of this session to get some immediate feedback from some of the resource people who are here. So please keep it short. Let's move on to next.
Yeah, so next we have the Sikwati tradition of Philippines by Maria Lorena and Liana Melissa.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, Ayong Buntag. So I am PG, the Maria Lorena, and my partner is Liana Melissa. So we are still thinking of changing our title. So maybe it could be Sikwati, Grandmother's Legacy, because our key informant is actually the granddaughter of that grandmother, because we don't have time to go anywhere else for this study. So we will focus on their story as a family. So anyway, somebody said a grandmother's love is forever and always. So we want to be there because grandmothers is actually like a culture bearer as well. Like for me, my memory of my grandmother is that when we were little, she would call me and my cousins, and then she would give us a fruit. And then that fruit is cacao. and then she would let us eat it, suck the mucilage of the cacao seeds, making sure that we don't bite into the cacao seed. And then she would gather all those seeds, dry it up, and then the following week, we have our tablea. So the sikwate is actually from tablea, this tablea. So they are tablets, and then cooked in that chocolatera. So we have an earthenware and we have a metal one, and mixed with that baterol on my back. So I would always remember that. But when I arrived here in the city to study in university, I found out that all my friends, they don't have that memory from their grandmother, those who are living in the city. What they know of tablea is just put in the water, boil it, and that's a drink. So that led to the commercialization of cacao or the chocolate, which is sad for us because it's ingrained in the history of the Philippines. When the galleon trade opened, we were blessed that cacao could be planted here. So imagine in all the world, only 20 degrees north and south of the equator can plant cacao. And we are blessed that although it did not originally come from here, we have that. And to prove that it's really ingrained in our culture and tradition as people here in the Philippines, every household, like for example, in the towns, you'll find these tablets. You'll find this and they drink it in the morning together with all the stories. So that's why that's our title. So the broad objective of our study is to document ICH and promote awareness and appreciation for the sustainable development of the cacao industry. So we hope by knowing the importance, the history, the culture, the tradition attached to cacao, we'll see na it's not just a product that you buy in the market and then just cook and that's just it. No. And then of course our specific objectives are this. One, to retrieve the traditional inherited practices and beliefs process of associated with planting and cooking cacao. Because this family right now is actually working with the community, bridging the gap between over-commercialization and how to take care of it from the land. So their battle cry is from farm to table. And the number two, to record and illustrate the different processes of creating cacao products, including cultural aspect, our stories, our legend, our belief about it. That when you drink cacao, you'll be happy. So what's in cacao that it can make you happy? And number three, to formulate solutions for the sustainable development of the cacao industry. And for our methodology, Liana will share it to you.
Okay, so our methodology is first, it's retrieval of inherited traditional processes and practices in cacao industry as based on our specific objectives. The second is formulating viable solutions for wider utilizations of these processes because we were trying to reach not only the community where they are working with, the family that is working with the community, but we wanted to expand it through education and use technology in informing not just part of Cebu, but maybe in the future, if this paper will be okay, it will reach the whole Philippines and who knows, internationally. And the third is promotion through education by including it in the curriculum and using print and social media or internet. Like for education aspect in the curriculum, because there is courses like hotel, restaurant management programs where they learn traditional cookings or different kinds of cuisines. Maybe this can be inculcated in their curriculum, or maybe on the high school curriculum on history. So they will also know, because not all Filipinos knows that cacao is part of the history of the Philippines. So this could be good. This would be a good step for the Filipinos to learn about cacao, not just as the part of the chocolate, but as a holistic approach of knowing what is cacao.
And we want to improve this study through the advice of maybe Neil, Barbie, and the other speakers, because we really wanted to focus more on ICH education and of technology. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think we will discuss more because I believe you are also the bearers, the tradition bearers, or part of the family. So how others get involved probably is something we'll see, but then also in which direction. I think very interesting project. We'll discuss more as we go. Thank you. Again, next group, please keep it to short, 2 to 3 minutes, because I think we are running out of time.
Yeah. Okay, so next is Project 14, Wisdom Bridge Traditions of India by Sarah.
Good morning, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
So Wisdom Bridge is a term coined by the Heartfulness Institute guide, Dr. Kamlesh Patel. He, of course, heartfulness anchors on meditation, but he also brings about holistic development from childhood. And he talks about bridge, which is the connect between the elder generation and the younger generation, passing on cultural values. These cultural values are societal mechanisms to keep the community running. Because how else would you come to know that this thing is safe for me? It is through stories that we hear from our elder people who have tried and tested, and then we discover more and more. And also the older generations did have knowledge of the SDGs. You would never hear of SDGs coming separately, but they knew that the man and nature existence, living coexistence, was very clear in the lifestyle in indigenous communities. Wisdom Bridge is not only in India. I'm focusing on India. It's a part of all the countries which have had indigenous traditions to this world. So reasons for breaking down of these bridges between the older generation and the newer generation, some of them identified through research as migration, modernization, urbanization, nuclearization, self-identity of both generations. Both of them want me time, and later marriages and later children, which do not facilitate that connection. The objectives of this project would be to realize the importance of a connect between the old and the new, both ways, it's cyclical, and facilitating the wisdom bridge in a new way. So the ways to achieve that we have thought, which is my guide whom I'm doing a PhD project with, is to bring about grandparents to schools and share their stories with children, starting with preschool and primary school. And those grandparents, it's not necessary that for one grade only those grandparents would come. Other grandparents can also come and interact with children. There are 3 methods. So the other one would be problem solving facilitation, which would be a single blind system where problems can be put into a fishbowl of the youth, and older people or younger people can come and address the problems based on specific topics. Like in one fishbowl session, you would have solution based on stories, solutions based on experiences, solutions based on anything open, and some where only one generation would talk or all generations would talk, for a novel experience for everyone every time. And the third would be recording stories from people, grandparents, older generations, to show what their culture is all about, and the new generation not just accepting it blindly just because it's our culture, because it's our tradition, but to critique it and take it whether it's relevant in today's times, how we can modify the knowledge that we are getting, and how we can assimilate it into our living today. So that is where we are right now.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm not fully sure whether I understand that if this belongs to a certain community, like can we identify communities to work on this, or is it more of a methodology that would be used to. So I'm apologies for my ignorance here, but I think that's the aspect we might have to explore and understand. But since you are doing a PhD, I'm sure it's something we need longer time to understand from you and do. Now that reminds me that perhaps it might help us if all of you could send us your PPT or your brief write-up that you have prepared, more than what you had filled out in the Excel sheet that Bharvi sent. Because since these are all wonderful projects, we might have to also consult amongst the resource persons to see how better to guide you further. So just that piece of information for now. Thank you, Sarah. Let's move on to the other one.
Okay, so next project is Kangra Art by Shraddha Punya, but I think she's not in the session right now. So we'll move on to Yojung Kim on Korean traditional drumming dance and intellectual property right.
Okay. Can you hear me okay? Sorry, yes, I just have to come in and out of the meeting, so I'm on my mobile. So sorry, today I can't really have the video. So actually, I mean, it's just an initial idea I had. I did some background research, and I thought it was a really interesting issue because it's really contemporary, involving the traditional dance. So the dance in question was it's like a 3-book traditional dance that's that has been kind of registered by these the creator of the creator, the dancer, the master back in the days. But now the BTS in 2016, they had a spectacular performance of the dance, reappropriated. So it became really big issue in media in Korea. So so the issue I want to deal with is the benefit and constraints of the intellectual property right now, because the benefit of the intellectual property will be the creativity of the dance can be celebrated under the name of the master, Lee Mebong, and its a social and political background can be educated to the younger generation to come, so they understand the background so that they give more meanings to their practice. But the constraints will be, so it prohibits the traditional dance to continue its practice, and it deter any efforts to teach and spread the dance to the others and the younger generations. So in a way, it seems that there are more constraints than the benefits. So, so I mean, this is where I am at the moment. So I'll probably just bring out all the issues that we've learned so far, such as creative economy and school education. There's a gender issue because typically these dances have been practiced by women, and the cultural right. And eventually I need to come up with a sustainable plan for dealing with digitization of these cultural dance, and possibly, NFT, non-fungible token. That's another issue in the creative industry. So I'm just going to touch upon that issue as far as I know. I guess that's where I am so far.
Thank you, Yishong. I think we discussed this in between some of the sessions as well. Apparently, what I feel is you have a project at a different level where you have a specific issue out of the IPR regime and the copyrights and all that. And perhaps we might have to look into the innovative solutions. So I think your project probably stands at a different level, but and a mix of research, which informs the typical, very focused challenges, and we might have to explore some solutions. That's what I can see. So we will discuss more. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Next we have Monique talking about various ICH elements in Cardona, Philippines. Monique. Yeah. We can't hear you. Yes, you can present later. We'll come back to you. Sure. We have project 18, Santa Cruzan and Stone Crosses of Tayabas, Philippines by Raymundo.
Can I share?
Yes.
Can you see it now?
Yes, we can see the results.
Okay, good afternoon. Our presentation, I'm with Sir Romulo Suyom with this proposal. This is Santa Cruzan and the Stone Crosses of Tayabas, inventory, assessment of rituals and practices. So just to give a background, Tayabas in the province of Quezon is around 140 kilometers away from Metro Manila, the center of the Philippines. So this town, now a city, was the provincial capital of the province from 1605 up to 1901. Having a predominant Catholic population, the town has several religious structures and religious practices which transcended from the 1800s to the present time. But last January 17, 2021, a historical group discovered a broken stone cross dated 1793 in one of the forested rural communities we term barangays in Tayabas. The said piece was allegedly planned to be uprooted and carted away, but due to unknown reason, the attempt did not push through and the broken stone cross was abandoned. So my town, Tayabas, is a unique town having around 30 identified stone crosses within the Tayabas area. Its use, however, today is for the ritual of Santa Cruzan, that the one I'm presenting now. But how different is the Santa Cruzan of Tayabas from the Santa Cruzan of today's generation? To most of us Filipinos, the Santa Cruzan that we know is the parade of young ladies and the escorts representing the different biblical characters. And usually the parade or the procession of Santa Cruzan is focused on the women used by God to prepare a nation or race for the coming of the Savior. But in Tayabas, the finding of the cross is what we also what we are celebrating. And instead of a parade of ladies and escorts, a ritual of prayer is made in front of the cross. This is a sort of prayer or novena done for 9 days or 9 nights. Instead of merely reciting the prayer, the leader and the participants sing the prayer in a repetitive tone set in correspondence to each other, and this correspondence apparently is one of the traditional notions of our singing, or the way of singing. As it is done in front of the cross made of stone, bamboo, or banana stalk found in the yards of some houses in the barangay or the small communities that we refer, the ritual recounts the tale surrounding the cross of Christ and its discovery. So this is what we now want to fully document and safeguard: the ritual of Santa Cruzan and the associated artifacts like the stone crosses and the design of the baluarte or the decorative makeshift, this one. The significance of the element, while this is a Catholic tradition, the rituals and practices are already dwindling in most of the rural communities. Of the 10 rural communities or the barangays that have stone crosses, only 2 communities are practicing the rituals during the month of May. One rural community or barangay has exceptional stone crosses of around 2 meters high, chiseled from the volcanic rock from the nearby Mount Banahaw, but the ritual was already forgotten by the community. One community, on the other hand, already lost their stone crosses, but the ritual is continually being observed with the use of the wood or bamboo crosses. So how do we safeguard the ritual and revive such ritual for this community with exceptional stone crosses? This proposal is vital in safeguarding the rituals as well as the artifacts. With the local government's plan to put a concrete road so that vehicles can gain access to these areas, farm to market road, what are the chances that the rituals and the artifacts are compromised? So the objectives of this proposal is to document the rituals and variations from the communities still practicing the Santa Cruzan, explore the possibilities of reviving the Santa Cruzan to the inactive communities with stone crosses, and to record the melody and the hymn for the next generation's appreciation and use in order to continue the tradition, and to seek recognition and protection from cultural institutions like that of the National Commission for Culture and the Arts. partners might be the UNESCO, if possible, National Commission for Culture and the Arts, UST, University of Santo Tomas, University of the Philippines Archaeological Studies Program. We have 8 universities, state college universities in Quezon, so probably Southern Luzon State University and the city government of Tayabas, among others. So, but big part of this will be that we will consider are the consultations approvals of the communities involved. So the red one, if you can see, are those small communities having the stone crosses. And this one, while other barangays or small communities are practicing the ritual without this stone crosses. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Raimundo. I think the element is very clear. My only big question would be to think, or how should we think in bigger ways to get the practitioner communities in the front rather than others. So I think that's the only thing, but I'm sure you have thought about it, so we'll clarify and get you moving. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, next group.
Next is project 19 by Gunjan Joshi on Seraikela Chowdan.
Hi, good morning. First of all, I'd really like to thank the organizers. This has been such a great journey, and we've got a lot to chew upon and a lot to think upon. And what I gathered from this entire process is we're not working towards a full-fledged project, but we're trying to work out models with what we learned over these few weeks and kind of implement them. So I don't have a PPT, but just since we are sharing, I just want people to see what I am talking about in just the form of 2 slides. Can you see them? Is it visible?
Yeah, yes, now it is.
All right. So in terms of pictures, these are all the performances that I've done. I'm actually a dancer myself. So my plan for this project would be to inventory and create like a list or map out the current artists that are involved with the 2 aspects, 2 elements, which is the mask making traditions and the instrument playing traditions, mostly because making sometimes happens across India as well. And I'd like to make it more with the, just a second. Yeah, so the objectives would, the first 2 ideally would be done to complement the final one, which is going to be relating to the project, to the workshop. And the idea would be to use, I mean, we've seen these brilliant case studies by Hipams and Bangla Natak, and the mask traditions, like this mask is very different from the ones that Bangla Natak has worked on in terms of Bengal, because they're more elaborate, they can be used as decorative. So trying to find ways using, say, the social media and other creative and technological tools to maybe create more awareness about Seraikela Chow specifically, and also to kind of have more youth participation in terms of learning these crafts, because the mode of transmission needs to be continued. And what I have observed, my key informant would be my Guruji, and he very much is in touch with all of these the instrument players. And as you can see, even in this photo, I mean, this is happening in Delhi, and my Guruji itself, he was sitting on the dhol. So I mean, there are people who are required to be put in place, and they're supposed to learn these art forms so that the dance form can continue. And the dance form is very much recognized in the list of humanity by UNESCO. So I mean, it's like a collective effort. It's not just the dance form that is happening. So it's still in progress, and I think this project of mine is more of like, I'll probably be taking it up in future, but for the workshop I would want to highlight and look at these 2-3 goals or 2-3 plans that I can work out with respect to the examples and case studies that we've seen, for like a better participation of the youth, engagement of the youth, and the sustainable development of the communities involved in making of the masks and the playing of the instruments. That would be me.
Thank you, Gunjan. And I hope as you look at this particular, and since you are involved, you're also a dancer, you said, so I hope some of the lessons learned through the workshop will be useful in thinking in different perspectives. Definitely. So for the interest of time, I think I will not speak more. Barbie, let's go to the next.
Yeah, project 20 by Ahana on documenting the Bhatiyali folk songs of Bengal. It seems that she is not here. So we move on to Rosemary, the role of labor in built cultural heritage, the case of Philippines.
Good afternoon from the Philippines. So it's just a few slides. Yep. I won't be maximizing it because usually my screen sharing stops once I do it. So anyway, so when I applied for the slot for this workshop, I do not have this particular research in mind to pitch. It's not because it was not thought of before the workshop. Actually, it was last year. We started developing this research, and technically we will be implementing this in the next few months, the last quarter of the year. I decided to formally share this since I don't want to do something that we won't be really implementing, like some mock research. So we decided that complementing the research with this workshop with the aim to help us build a stronger maybe working references and much correct view, especially that we have this workshop on ICH. So we're focusing so it's in Filipino, the lead, the title, Lakas Paggawa is labor force in Filipino, and Kamanahang Kultural is cultural heritage. So it's essentially, as said by Barbie, the role of labor in the cultural heritage preservation. The names here that appear in your screen is technically the people behind me. So I might be just the one here, but it's our team that will implement this research, and we come from Philippinology, economics, humanities, philosophy. It's an interdisciplinary engagement. So mainly we aim to understand the crucial role of labor skills and practices in sustaining techniques and knowledge, particularly to cultural and heritage conservation, particularly the built heritage one. So for our particular objectives, we plan to map out past and existing built heritage conservation projects of the Training Center Escuela Atelier, the Filipinas Foundation, which was founded in the Philippines in 2009, but prior to that, they have other Escuela Atelier in other countries. So to determine the current landscape of cultural and heritage conservation work and document labor skills acquired and practiced in the past and existing conservation works of Escuela Atelier. And there's a note there that we were able to choose this research object focus because a quick background, in like around December of 2019, I was able to bump into a friend who works in Escuela Atelier, is the communications officer, and ask him if we could bring students in the senior high school as apprentice in their work. But that didn't push through, but I was quick to propose to them that we do something like collaborate. And yeah, particularly in the field of research, because well, I'm in the research sector in the university, and I'm keen to study this, and yeah, we clicked right away. So the executive director and the communications officers, we held a discussion in January 2020, sorry. So that was last year, January. And we listed all their like the concerns from their part that they wanted to know but have not done. They have not able to give focus. Conduct those research on these topics. So one is this. So we said that we can maybe collaborate because it's a particular. May I use the term pride to find out that the junior architects of Escuela Tarlier are graduates from our university.
Rosemary, sorry to intervene. Could you right away move into your proposal? Yes. What it's going to be? Sorry, it's about the timing. Thank you.
Yeah, it would be just quick. So as said there, we focus on the past and existing built project, but for the immediate implementation, it would be on the current built heritage conservation projects, 2 churches in the province of Pampanga in the Philippines. We wanted to do the Metro Manila projects first because of the pandemic situation, but technically the heritage conservation workers that we can interview are the same ones outside the city. So we really have to we decided we will really arrange a safe way to go there to interview them one of these days. So anyway, these are just the postcards of the lecture series we did with Escuela Tarlier last year, February. We were lucky because it was not yet the official lockdown. It was a few weeks before the lockdown. So anyway, that was the beginnings of our collaboration. And so the methodology would be just this, the last slide. So archival research, oral history, and phenomenology. So listening and understanding the experiences of the creative industry workers, observation of their creative process, and expert and in-depth interviews, discussions with both the built heritage conservation workers and the architects. So the point is essentially, no matter how bright or knowledgeable with the techniques, etc., even Escuela Tarlier recognizes that labor without labor, it can't be that intangible part. We cannot pursue with this endeavor effectively, and that when we ask, last point, with the experts in the field, even the architects themselves involved in the cultural heritage conservation work, they too acknowledge the fact that there's no research highlighting the labor, the side of labor. So we want to pursue something on that side. Thank you.
Thank you, and sorry for the time issue, but what I could see is a very common issue in the built heritage conservation, where today it's been recognized that to do a genuine work in conservation, we need to recognize the kind of artisans or crafts workers that might be needed. And I think you are aiming at that, but I understand since you didn't think it that way, and it's already an ongoing project. But I'm sure we can connect to good aspects there. Next.
Next is Project 22 by Joanne on Filipino games.
Hi, good afternoon. I'll be sharing my screen. I have a short PowerPoint for today. First, thank you very much for this experience and workshop, and I'm really glad that it has helped me in my efforts of doing this research. So I am from the Philippines. My research is on identifying and inventorying Philippine games. Now, as a backgrounder, this is one of the many games in the Philippines, and this has many variations in this Pico. I took this when I was doing an immersion in 2010 in Botolan, but a lot of Filipinos do not use this playing area for Pico because of the many variations. That's the photo you see there. And the Department of Education has come up with a technical working group that is tasked to create the Philippine Games handbook. And I am one of those researchers who they have invited, and because of the several meetings that we have, I have learned that DepEd and the many people behind the project is not aware of how to go about such an endeavor. But initially, they want to create a handbook with the following aims: to promote culture and tradition, develop a list of Philippine games, and develop a set of rules for games for safe and enjoyable manner, and definitely to conduct research to the effects of the Philippine games on children. And because I have a background in anthropology, I was able to tell them that we have to take the cultural route, using cultural heritage as our anchor. And this is true to what I have assessed. Although noble in its efforts to come up with a handbook, the representatives and majority of the members I am working with do not have knowledge on basic research methodologies, and also on how to look at children's games and ICH for that matter. And I will be giving that hopefully firm foothold on these things as we venture into identifying and inventorying Philippine games. And so that the others know, here in the Philippines, we have already a lot of documentations on Philippine games. However, most of the approach used here would be instructional materials for teachers on how to teach them. And I will be looking into this as a resource on cultural aspect as well, not only just for instructional material purposes. And continuing, many Filipinos, including DepEd, believe that Philippine games are slowly being forgotten while others are dying. And there's a need to revive and promote Philippine games. And many Filipinos blame gadgets, online games, and many other factors. And DepEd, with its formation of the TWG, or Technical Working Group, is looking into that, beyond the instructional manual approach on how to teach games to students, but also to utilize Philippine games via fitness education model, and also learning about its cultural aspect. And this is a photo I took during our meeting. So one of their aims again is to let games survive and be promoted because of the handbook that we're using. And I have explained to them the game Punuk, which was inscribed in 2015, as one example that we can look into while we are doing the documentation and inventory. And they have received it quite well. However, they see it as very daunting, especially because of the times we're experiencing right now. But they have agreed that it's just more than inventorying, and we have to look deeper into it. And that's why I was able to present some of the cultural side from to them. And I also use UNESCO as an example for our discussions. So the objectives of this study would be the following: identify, document, and inventory, and analyze the cultural contents of games and the many variations and mutations and how they are transmitted over time, and also analyze games across different localities, which includes the similarities and differences, along with the many mechanics, rules, and playing area. We'll be using qualitative approach. So ethnography, FGD, interviews, participant observation if possible, and also document analysis. And since a lot of our members are part of indigenous communities, free, prior, and informed consent will be obtained, along with taking photos, videos, so on and so forth, with their consent, obviously. And the target participants basically are children and adolescents as juvenile reporters, where the adults will also be recollecting their childhood. And potential partners, DepEd is not in connection with NCCA, the government's agency for culture and arts, and also PSC. However, these two sectors in the government have been involved in Philippine games, but they are doing separate things. So I'm hoping that because of this project of DepEd, they will come into terms with each other and hopefully not be separate, segregated in that sense. This is an actual output from one of our researchers. We use Excel file to initially make an inventory, and this is one of the illustrations that the researcher included there. And it's quite a compressed timeline because that's very hard for DepEd to do. We are actually doing the data gathering already, and the initial manuscript will be finalized hopefully within this December, but it's compressed, so we're hoping that we can have more time to do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joanne. Thank you, Joanne. Looks like you have a broader project to really document map, but also make it something useful for the future generations, through the educational channel. That's wonderful. So we'll discuss more. Let's move on to next. We have now only about 20 minutes left. So I hope we'll cover all the presentations and some of the resource persons can give feedback. Yeah.
We have Lubna next, but she said she wasn't ready. So Lubna, do you want to speak or will you be comfortable talking in the discussion sessions in the coming weeks?
Ready with my PowerPoint.
Okay. All right.
You want me to share it?
Yes, you can share it.
Okay. So I did a major rethinking about my project. Sorry. Can you see?
No, it's a white screen.
Huh? Why?
Yeah, there is no text or photos.
You cannot see my PowerPoint?
We see only white.
Yeah, we can see a screen,
slide.
but there is no content on it.
Yeah.
Why? Can I just stop this?
Yeah, we see your cursor moving, but there is nothing other than the white background.
Should I go back to Zoom?
Yeah, I think you can unshare the screen, stop sharing, and then try again.
Oh, okay. Stop sharing. I'm in Zoom. And then I press the green button, don't I?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Share. Optimize. I don't know. Share my desktop. Can you see my desktop?
No, it is still white, but I think your Zoom thing we're seeing.
Lubna, you might be sharing the white screen, the whiteboard by Zoom. Yeah. So you'll have to open the file on your computer and then you will get options under that. Maybe you want to email the file to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, then we can share.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we can go to the next. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do that. I think
Yeah.
Stop share.
Okay. Yeah. So next we have Juni, who has 2 projects that she's. Do you want to? Or, I don't see her in the meeting, I think. Yeah. Okay. She's not here. So we move on to the last project by Prabinji on the Yomari cuisine of Bungamati.
Shall I share the screen? Can you see my screen?
Share. You can share the screen. Yeah.
You can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning from Nepal to everybody.
Can you turn on your video so that we can see you, if possible?
Yes, I think. Can you see me now? See me and my screen as well?
Looks like you are coming. You're still not able to see.
Now?
Yeah, now we can see you. Yeah, please.
Okay. Probably I've been working in this heritage settlement for the last 4 or 5 years, and even more before. I used to work with even Nilkamal Dai for the conservation work. So at present I'm working in this heritage settlement in Bungamati. So I'm just giving you a background what Bungamati looks like. It's a traditional heritage settlement, and one of the a reason why we are working there is that it was badly affected during the last earthquake. So this is the one of the settlements, the traditional settlement, which was badly damaged, and around 95% of the houses were damaged. So during our reconstruction process, we worked out all these conservation of tangible heritage, like revitalization of ponds and this public house, and we did all of these things. And then we realized that conserving the tangible heritage is not enough to pass on our cultures and tradition to the new generation. So we started working on different intangible prospects within the settlements. And one of the things that I would like to present in my ICS assignment is that the food sector. So what is food? You know that in our culture we do have lots of food, and even I belong to Newar community, so we have got a unique unique variety of unique foods. So this is how we present it. But just recording and putting inventory and then uh, preparing a documentations, we realize that that's not going to be enough. We have to make it a little bit more economic friendly, because every activities which are tied with the economic activities, then that will definitely go on to the promotions, and that is definitely going to be popular in future. So we started with this Ropain festivals, like farming, which is generally carried out as per the lunar calendar, Asar 15th. We started promoting this Ropain festival, in which we started inviting domestic as well as international tourists for this farming festival, where the farming is generally enjoyed. So on the basis of this farming festival, we started carrying out this conservation of this traditional Yomari molding. I will be presenting all the details about this molding in my assignment, but all those cross-cutting issues, like training for the woman, training youth and women, and sustainable development, and then circular economics, and everything will be covered with I hope I will try to cover all those things in this assignment. But what I just like to add on to what I've been saying is that to conserve any kind of heritage, be it tangible or intangible, and economical activities should be a must. So I'm just trying to showcase how the economical linking the intangible heritage with the economical activities boosted the conservation of the heritage that we are trying to conserve. I think that's what I want to share at the time being. I will be providing detail later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Pravinji. That was wonderful to see that along with the settlement conservation or built heritage conservation, you are also now integrating intangible cultural heritage and very proactively promoting and finding new avenues of promoting and safeguarding. I hope with the workshops input, perhaps your ongoing project could also take new dimensions and make it more sustainable, or contribute to the sustainable development of these communities. So thank you very much. Varvi, should we just call upon those missed out just to see if anybody is there? And Lubna is there.
Yeah, I'll share Lubna's screen now.
Are you showing?
Yeah, is it visible? Is my screen visible?
Not yet. But anyway, I'll just while you're, yeah, can you make it a slideshow for mode? Start from the first slide. So I did a major change in my idea because of this wonderful workshop that we attended. I was initially wanting to do work on loin weaving by the Hajongs, but I was so impressed by the rural sustainability project with the cultural landscape approach by the Hong Kong group that I decided to change. Our organization Shadhana has been working with the Manipuri community for now almost 9 years, and we have worked with ICH too. So we would like to implement a multi-year cross-sectoral collaborative project to safeguard and strengthen cultural practices, just as they have done in the Lo Shiwo village in Hong Kong. Can we? I wish I could have brought the members of Dhumel, the young Manipuri members who worked with us for the last 8 years. Can we just go to the next slide? So this is based in Tilakpur, which is northeast of Bangladesh, in Sylhet division. And it is an extremely rich cultural community, but very economically in bad shape. So we started, because I'm a dancer, so I started a project to teach them dancing. And we have been very successful, so successful that the Tilakpur dancers are now going all over the world performing. So when I heard Anna speak about her project, I thought, why not talk to this? So I actually went up country and I came back very late last night, and I got the permission from the Dhumel community, the community in Tilakpur, to do this project. And also HSBC is closely related to us and helps with. So altogether, I thought that why not give it a shot? So can we go to the next slide? We have already done a wonderful ICH project with the Tilakpur Manipuri community. This is an ICHpedia from our organization, and they have themselves uploaded all the information of all their ICH practices. So in some way, they are very much aware of the convention and the fourfold method of safeguarding. If you have time, you can maybe go through the ICHpedia. We have a detailed inventory of their Manipuri practices. Can we go to the next slide? So this is Dhumel is organization. We have partnership organization with the Manipuri community of Tilakpur for the last 8 years. So though we were only focusing on dance and performance, I was very inspired by the Hong Kong project to think of expanding. Can we go to the next slide? So there are so many practices there in Tilakpur where women they are weavers, they are very good cooks, they are dancers. So I thought if we take up just like they have done in Hong Kong, separate elements and integrate it into one project, maybe even think of a startup heritage or some heritage startup, something like that. Next one, please. There is also very good opportunity for tourism in that village, because they have festivals all year around the Rash Leela, but it's very disorganized. So I thought that if we can, the food there, the women cook very unique food, and also they make the dresses, many cultural practices. Maybe if we can consult with the Hong Kong group and then come up with a framework for doing this again. Next slide. So also we have spoken to the local schools. Because the Manipuris are more very prominent in that community, the local schools inculcate education for sustainable development through Manipuri practices. That could also be one of the multi-sectorial projects that we take up. So this is as far as we have come. I can go on and on, but as you can see, I came back very late last night after discussing with the young members of Dhumel, and they're very excited. And let me please acknowledge that most of the work in this PowerPoint has been done by them. So I'm hoping that the Ahmedabad Institute can link me up with the Hong Kong group to see if somehow we can come up with a doable project. Thank you.
Thank you, Lubna. How wonderful. Very pleased to, see a real concrete impact or advantage, benefit of the workshop. So it makes us feel very great
I'm
that people
so
like
thrilled.
you. Sorry?
I'm so thrilled that you brought the Hong Kong group. And then when they mentioned HSBC, I said, oh my God, we are working with HSBC too. So what if we can do something?
Great.
Yeah.
Certainly, we will network you with Anna and her team,
Thank you so
and
much.
I'm sure they will be pleased. Yes, definitely. So I think that's one of the objectives of the workshop. Barbie, let's just do a last call for anybody who missed.
Yes, we have Monique who's ready with her presentation.
Okay, and very brief, 2 minutes you could finish. Thanks.
Hello. Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay, so if you would recall, last Friday, I asked if we can focus on just one ICH element or if we should focus in the community and incorporate various elements in that community. So Sir Neil Kamal answered to focus in just one element unless those elements can be integrated together. This triggers my idea and sort of answer my question. Surely, my hometown has a lot of living heritage to offer. It just lacks cohesion and proper management. I think this is where my proposal would come in. With that, I am apologizing in advance if my proposal bit is a bit raw and lacks in so many ways because the idea is still very complex, considering that there are various ICH elements I incorporated in this proposal. So this is the outline of my presentation. I'll provide you with a brief background on the community objective, and I will enumerate various ICH elements present in my community, the possible fund source, stakeholders, partners, and implementers, as well as the of course, safeguarding measures that I identified. So this is the map of Cordon Rizal. So it's a third-class municipality within the province of Rizal. And the province of Rizal is very close to Metro Manila, which is the capital of the Philippines. It's just a small municipality with just 29.56 kilometers squared, population of just 50,000. It has 18 barangays, 11 in the mainland and 7 in the island, which is Talim Island. This is why most of the people living here are what do you call this? They get their income from fishing. So with its proximity to Manila, it is also very difficult to keep its culture intact, especially with the effect of globalization. In relation to our session about urban-rural integration, sadly, people of Cardona tend to get jobs outside of the municipality. They also patronize neighboring businesses rather than its home. The objective of my proposal is to explore various ways on how the living heritage of Cardona Rizal can be used for the sustainable development of the municipality. So I tried checking for the vision mission statement of the LGU, and I was happy to find that the objectives of the project corresponds with the vision mission statement of the LGU to empower people, to provide progressive and sustainable opportunities, and is grounded on the strong commitment to the conservation and protection of not only the environment and its natural resources, but also the cultural heritage of the town. The project will also contribute to the mission of the LGU in its development plan, as well as stated here, working hand in hand with the people. They are open to suggestions and initiatives such as this one. So it is easy to involve the citizens in the pursuit of development. As also mentioned by Ms. Ananya in our 9th session about ICH inventorying and safeguarding, this project on sustaining local heritage sites can be linked to SDG 1, 4, 5, 8, 11, and 12. Okay, I also do not want to miss this opportunity to incorporate a broader and very inspiring objective from the former chairman of the NCCA, or National Commission for Culture and the Arts. In his introduction to the book, Pinagmulan Enumeration from the Philippine Inventory of ICH. So he said that the Filipinos will be presented as creators, innovators, and bearers of collective wisdom rather than as imitators and passive consumers. In this way, we call attention to our intrinsic dignity and worth and enhance our self-respect. It is a way of dignifying our people, a significant direction in killing and unifying a nation. And it is owing to the long history of colonization, even long past the colonization era, Filipinos are still enslaved by colonial mentality, which is a detrimental factor in the preservation of the Filipino culture. Okay, so even our perception of beauty is attributed to the mixing of Filipino race with foreigners, as exemplified by our beauty queens. So in my project, I first enumerated the various ICH elements in my community based on their respective domains. So under the oral traditions and expression, I have identified the colloquial language because our language provides variation from the typical Tagalog or Filipino language. It is characterized by its distinct accent, and we have quite a number of colloquial words which are not present anywhere else. We also have kwentong bayan. Kwento means kwento in English is story, bayan is town. So there are various stories from our town. Also the chants when children play. It is also still open for interpretations. Under the performing arts, we have band culture. We have pabasa or pasyon. We have la torre, serenata, sapawan, street dance. Under the social practices, we also have these festivals, our Kongkawayan Festival. These are some of the community members carrying the bamboo arches to the municipal hall building. We also have fluvial parades, as well as Holy Week processions. Under the knowledge and practice about nature and the universe, we have traditional healing systems. We have hilot. We also have shamanism or the belief in the albularyo. Under traditional craftsmanship, if I was given a chance to choose just one element, I will choose this one, the kaluskos. So kaluskos bamboo arches. These are more commonly known as our Kongkawayan. It is a traditional craft characterized by intricate bamboo shaving designs masterfully crafted by local artisans of Cordon Rizal. The arches are used in entryways during fiestas and weddings, as well as Santa Cruzan. With the Pista ng Arkong Kawayan, Kaluskos Bamboo Arches Festival, 8 Kaluskos bamboo arches adorned with Christmas lights made by the 8 participating barangays are showcased in front of the municipal hall every Christmas. Similar tradition may be found in Morong, Binangon, and Teresa, and in the province of Bulacan. So this is the festival. As for the possible fund source, stakeholders, partners, and implementers, since I am from the community, I know quite a lot of people I can work with. So these are some of my mentors, and they are also my key informants when I did my research and documentation on some of the ICH of my community. So possible stakeholders includes the local government unit, assistance. We will also request for assistance and grants from grant giving agencies. We also have non-government organizations and people organizations who can implement projects, educational institutions, private sector, local businesses, culture and arts advocates. So I also try integrating the various ICH elements together. So one of my plan is to mainstream the use of Kaluskos bamboo arches during florestas, pagoda, weddings, fiestas, and to use it as entryways to important government buildings. Also to incorporate live band playing on certain parts of Pabasa or Passion. Also, our Kongkawayan Festival could also include art and trade fairs, showcasing artworks and crafts by local artists. There are other ways in which ICH could be linked to each other, but as of now, this is all that I have thought of. As for the proposed initiatives and safeguarding measures, I created a matrix to organize my thoughts because it's quite complex, but it is not yet completed. I am still working on it. So I identified, I get some strategies from the presentation of Prof. Pianis last time, and also from Ms. Ananya as well. So these are some of my strategies. The first one is profiling, documentation, and research. So it includes mapping, and there you can see it all. Another strategy is to encourage, it's too small, to encourage local awareness and cultivations of sense of pride by producing pride merchandise, selling t-shirts with designs depicting Cardano culture, colloquial terms, paintings of local artists, etc. Partnerships with local influencers via social media postings, cultural events in local businesses, such as pahamog or weekend jam, live jam sessions, spoken word poetry, storytelling, book fair exchange. So I would like to partner with local businesses and private sector as well as schools for these events. Another one is for the protection and promotion of cultural and natural heritage. These are some of the initiatives. I still haven't identified the initiative for this one, but the activities, the tree planting activities for preschool students to generate more resources for the Kalustos bamboo arches, as well as to conduct cultural festival, art fair, showcasing traditional craftsmanship and arts, and competitions to elevate the quality of the works of the artists, local artists. For the cultural education, the proposed initiatives are strengthening skill transmission and skill development process. So I will propose an establishment of a School of Living Tradition or similar program, summer art camps for the youth, workshops and capacity building. And lastly, for the upgrade of quality of life for local community, being in a band makes you eligible for band scholarships in universities, not only in the nearby municipalities, but as well as in Manila. For the development of local economy, I will develop the bamboo craft as market products, innovate in the innovations in the fishing industry for marketability. So we will form a volunteer team of business specialists to strategize and innovate within the local community, as well as tourism development. Lastly, for the strategic synergies, it's still very raw, I'm sorry. This is to encourage dialogue with neighboring municipalities for collective development. The proposed activities are forums and conferences and province-wide art camps. So I think that covers all of my presentation. So Cardano is rich in culture, but its practices and elements are scattered. This calls for strategic planning and management to enable cohesion that would propel the community into sustainable development. So that is my proposed project. Thank you.
Thank you, Monique. Glad that the technology worked and you were able to present. Now, I believe that's our last presentation for the session. Barbie, do we have anybody else ready?
No, I think we are done for now. A lot of people message saying that they will do the presentations during the consultation sessions.
Okay.
So we can look forward to that. Yeah.
Okay, and we also received some feedback about the consultation session. So we'll re-announce that with some discussion among ourselves, because I think the participants also will prepare a little bit more details before meeting in the consultation session. So I think that's a nice thought. We'll discuss that. For now, even though we have exceeded the time, I would like to take just 5-10 more minutes to get quick comments from a few people, and then we'll take a short break and we'll reconvene in the next session. May I now ask Jinhee from ICHCAP to share her thoughts, just brief comments on, in general, over about the presentation, this session. Jinhee?
Oh, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes,
okay, okay. It's just a comment and my impression from your all of the presentation. It was a really great time to listen to your assignments topics and their progress at this workshop. For me, it was a new opportunities to come to know various ICH elements from South and Southeast Asia especially. So cacao culture, Nepali literature, diversity, each different weaving cultures, Catholic practices in Philippines, traditional dance, games, cuisine and festival craftsmanship, contained even in tangible heritage, etc., linked with the SDG score. So again, I have learned that there are so many different and also similar culture and customs we should look into for safeguarding ICH as raising its awareness and sustainability, especially for future generations with a holistic lens. So I hope you can develop more on your assignments from the following feedback later, thus showing your proposal results got the best of the workshop at the online exhibition coming next month. Thank you.
Thank you, Jinhee. I see that some of our colleagues are also here. So may I invite now Professor Yanis Paulius to also give brief remarks on the presentations. Yanis?
Yes, hello on my part. Congratulations for all these very interesting presentations. The comments that I would like to make are the following. First of all, the vast majority of the projects of the presentations covered the background of intangible heritage elements. This means the origins, the evolution, the current state, and also they covered the importance, the urgency for their safeguarding in terms of globalization, tourism, etc. Then some presentations focused on the issue of the majority of presentations covered methods for documentation, and that was very good to see. So the core of the presentation was there, and also of this workshop. And then some points that some presentations focused on, some presentations could have further developed this, could have been further enhanced, was first of all, community involvement, bottom-up approaches for the safeguarding. And also in some cases, this could be linked to the connection with tangible heritage. This was a point that some presentations developed, some others could have further enhanced. The other point is what is the organization responsible and the synergies, the collaborations needed for this safeguarding. I think there were 3 or 4 presentations that touched upon that. And the other and last point was the contribution to social and economic sustainable development. Again, there were some presentations that focused on that. Some other presentations could have further developed this element. These were my remarks on the presentations. Thank you again.
Thank you, Yanis. I think we have 15 minutes before the next session, which is the final valedictory session. Just to give you a quick update, the earlier announced consultation sessions for tomorrow and day after, it is advised that probably we should take slightly more time, and we'll request each group to share with us. Today, right away, you can share your presentation, whatever you presented today. But if in the coming few days, if you could slightly elaborate your write-up about the project idea, the proposal idea, and how you're developing. And there also maybe specify in which areas you think you need help and specific questions if you would ask. And just like Lubna said, there might also be a specific case where you would like to connect. Do indicate that so that we can reach out to the respective presenters, lecturers, and try to have a better consultation. So if you could send us a write-up in the coming few days with a little bit more details and specific questions, and that will help us to prepare to guide you in a better manner, but also to connect you to appropriate resource persons if there is a need. And so if we do that, Varvi will come back to you with a revised schedule, which will start from next week, and you'll have slots that you can pick up. Not everybody has to be there. We'll do group by group consultation, so it will be very focused on yours. But I think it is better for you to also do a little bit of more homework so that we can learn about your project more before we discuss with you. So I think that's the quick side conversation that some of us were having. So that's an update, and we can remind you of that also later on. And some of you who missed some of the sessions, we would recommend that you go back and try to connect because this is the whole idea that, how it should connect. Lubna, you can be very brief.
When is the final proposal? When the 31st October, is it?
I think we'll revise that. So you'll have almost around a month to give us the final thing, because then we'll prepare the virtual exhibition. Yeah, because the proposals are really wonderful and we're also very thrilled. And so we all want to help you in a more informed way. So I think we also need to study your brief materials that you will share with us. I think, and today's presentations also, I think, have probably given you more thoughts to think about and share with us. So I think.
Thank you, Nilkamalji. It was such a wonderful workshop.
Yes, and Varvi and I will keep working on it to make sure that this is more meaningful to all of us. So we'll do that. So and please watch out for Varvi's email on the details for the next sessions, and you can pick whatever slot is convenient for you, and we'll have a one-on-one meeting on that. Does anybody else have any comments, anything for this session?
We have a question from Joanne. Will we receive a template for a final submission?
That we will discuss during our consultation meeting, because each project is different. As you have seen, some of them are at the very beginning stage, some of them have already done some work, so it's taking to the next level. So I think giving a template will kill the entire purpose, right? So we don't want to go with the template. We'd like to come up with a template when we discuss with each one of you. That's the idea. Okay, so look out for Varvi's email, and please sign up for one of those consultation sessions whenever feasible for you, and we'll take it from there. Gunjan?
Yes, I wanted to ask if you're working on a poster presentation, which I'd like to try, is the written proposal required? Because then that will be like a double work. Is it? How does one?
If your poster communicates to not for the final submission. I'm asking for more. So your write-up would include background information you can find on this website. Summary information is this. So give us so that we study it before we meet you, because we are not experts. None of us know your case more than you. And in fact, we don't know. We are just thrilled to have so many cases now presented. So we felt it will be disservice to meet you without us being prepared. So we'd like to learn a little bit more about you there. So this note is informal way for you to enlighten us first, so that we prepare ourselves before we talk to you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. So it will be like a homework for us as well before we come to.
Exactly. So we're not giving you homework. We're actually realizing that we better do our homework before we meet with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So any other comments before we take a break? I think it has been almost 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
What time do we meet?
The same time.
15 minutes.
In 15 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Start 15 minutes and we'll have the valedictory session. We're not going to present your certificates, because that we'll do when we do the big finale exhibition that we'll have to plan. So let's take a break and meet in 15 minutes. We can stay in the room, but I'll just turn off my video and audio. I'll just take a short break and come back. See you in 14 minutes now. All right, so we will begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome again. Good morning and good afternoon, and perhaps good evening at some point. So we're going to do a slight change to the written schedule. We thought we had a wonderful session this morning where the participants in groups and in some cases individuals had some project ideas that they would like to work forward. And so to give you a sense of, and these are our outcomes so far, but the workshop is not over yet. Today will be the conclusion of the formal workshop part. And the next 1 month, we will be interacting with the participants who would like to take it forward through individual and groups consultation sessions to hopefully help them prepare their proposal. So while the participants were presenting, I was also taking a screenshot. So I have just put together a brief PowerPoint to recap what happened in this final day in the first morning session. And as I flip through the slides, I will request Varvi to briefly tell about that particular project idea.
Yeah. So the first project was on the mask making culture of Majuli by Kalyani and Kajal. And they are looking at the documentation of the mask making culture towards sustainable development, especially in terms and cultural awareness amongst the locals as well as tourism later on. The second one is the grass craft making in Lumbini. So that again involves sustainable tourism towards the project and traditional craft making skills to be enhanced by Chandra Prakash Pathak and Mrs. Ruth DeCosta. Then we have the Chatara tribal art, which is a very interesting tribal folk art of Karnataka. Neha Panwar and of the symbols art form and understanding these symbols furthermore. Next, we have Lalaine, who is going to work on the fishing style tradition of the community of Philippines and to determine the ICH value and to document its history and how to cultivate and preserve and safeguard the communities for the community sustainable development. Then we have the ritual diversity mapping in the landscape of Nepal by 5 of our participants. This is a Nepal-India project. We have people from Nepal as well as India. And to identify the potential inventories and map the footprints of ritual diversity and practices of nature and cultural linkage in the Nepal landscape. Next we have, is that Angela? Yes, we have Lasem. So the oral history in Lasem, especially in terms of the craft practices, the batik practices, and they're looking at storybooks, they're looking at AR and VR, they are looking at social media promotions as well in terms of sustainable development later on. Next we have Mark Louis. So Mark Louis is going to work on the blacksmithing tradition that he himself belongs to from the Philippines. And his major aim is to conduct community workshops with the blacksmiths and aim at assessing the condition of the tradition in respect to the environment. Next we have the Sikwati tradition. It's the intangible cultural heritage of the tea community, right, by Mridu Smithya, who is going to look at the tea communities of Assam and document the different elements of ICH and the problems that the community is facing in the present day scenario. Then we have Maria Guba and Liana Rosa from Philippines looking at the cacao tradition or the Sikwati tradition, especially in terms of the stories and the oral histories of the grandmothers passed on to their granddaughters coming from their own personal experience. We have Sarah coming from working on the wisdom bridge traditions of India. She is a postdoc, PhD candidate, if I'm not wrong, and she'll be working on the values of elder youth and elder relationships in culture. Then we have Hyo Jung Kim, who is going to work on the Korean traditional drumming and dancing and the intellectual property rights related to this particular subject. So especially in terms of the sort of the interpretation of these traditional practices in modern day culture. Then we have from Philippines, let me see, Sir Raimundo and Sir Romulo, who are going to work on the Santa Cruzan and the stone crosses of their community, if they are the area that they are familiar with, that's the Tayabas, and they are planning to document the ICH and form a way of protecting the rituals and hence sort of go for sustainable development in that sense. Next, we have Gunjan Joshi working on the Chow dance of Seraikela. She's going to work on documenting, listing, and mapping the current artisans that are involved in the mask making traditions or playing during the performances. Next, we have Rosemary, who is going to work on the role of labor in built cultural heritage from Philippines. Bringing the crucial role of labor skills and practices in cultural and heritage work that are significant to the foundations to ensure sustainability of heritage itself. Next, we have Joanne Gracia, who is going to work on Filipino games, identifying and inventorying Philippine games, and to sort of bring these forward to make to create awareness and sort of connect them to the indigenous people. Next, I think we have Prabinji from Nepal, who is going to work on the Yomari cuisine of Bungamati. That is also, again, documenting the cuisine of heritage settlement of the Bungamati region and to track the food supply chain of Nepal. And finally, we have Lubna, who is planning to work very much inspired from Professor Anna's HSBC Hong Kong project, a multi-year cross-sectoral collaborative project with the Manipuri community of Bangladesh related to their ethnic practices. And we have Monique working on Cardona. The various ICH elements in Cordon Rizal, which is also her native place. She's going to work on different elements such as chanting, retelling of the stories of the life of Jesus, the band culture and colloquial language, etc. Yeah, so that is a brief summary of the projects that we have discussed so far. We also have other projects that will be discussed in the consultation sessions that we will be doing with the participants over the coming few weeks. So we hope to learn more about them in the future.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Varvi, for that brief. Yes, as Varvi mentioned, we have a few more projects. Some of them could not be presented this morning. So we'll look forward to meeting with them and knowing them. But before I move on to the three valedictory addresses, I would give the floor to Varvi for a few minutes, because she has been a key person going behind, organizing, coordinating and all that. And I would like to also get her views on how this journey has been and what she felt, what's her impression. So Varvi, if you could spend 2-3 minutes with us, sharing your thoughts.
Yes, thank you so much. First of all, it has been a great pleasure to work on this workshop. It has been the first project that I did as a part of CHM as a research assistant, and it has been a wonderful journey. I think one of the key learning points for me was that coming from a master's background as a student and then sort of translating that entire role into a working professional, I think I really found it helpful. Also in terms that I was very happy that when at CHM, at the Center for Heritage Management at Ahmedabad University, we are very research oriented, but also in the terms that not just research as in theoretical research where we just, research and publish papers, but we also look at the practical outcomes of the research that we have conducted, which means that we try to sort of make sure that whatever we have studied has some kind of practical implications on the ground. So I think this particular workshop sort of embodies that particular idea of CHM, wherein we are not just looking at the theoretical concepts and the conventions and the nuances, but also the beautiful and the rich case studies that we've come across through all the professors and the lecturers that we've had over these 2 weeks, but also through your own personal experiences, because that is where I personally believe is what heritage in general is really about. So coming from your own experiences, understanding the convention text and the concepts and translating them in your own personal life, identifying these elements around you is what really is the major crux of this particular workshop and at CHM in general that has sort of really helped me work during working in this project. So yes, I just hope that this workshop has been helpful to you as much as it has been to me. As I said, we will be I am really looking forward to seeing your projects and seeing how these concepts can be applied, not just in your personal life, but in across nationalities. So because we have such wide range of participants across so many countries, I think that is also one very interesting factor, sort of bringing all of you all together, and that diversity I think is going to be very helpful. So thank you so much for bearing with me with all the emails, and we'll be meeting again, we'll be being in touch again. So thank you so much. And all the best. Yeah.
Thank you, Varvi. It is really heartening to see, you transitioning from a student, a graduate student, to a professional. And the reason I actually brought this up very promptly and without even giving you enough notice is that you have done a wonderful job, and I couldn't resist myself but to tweak the program and make sure that we hear from you as well. So that has been wonderful. So thanks a lot to you. But let me also take this opportunity to take one more minute to recognize the wonderful help that Ginny from ICHCAP had extended, and she has collaborated with me very nicely before Varvi joined. So Varvi has just joined this project in the last phase, towards the implementation. But before that, Ginny had been working with me in sort of reaching out to the lecturers, making sure that we are sending all things. So and then also reminding me at times when I forget things here and there. So Ginny, thanks very much for your wonderful support. And before Ginny was into this project, I had Ms. Boram Kim from ICHCAP, who since the last almost 1 year had been sort of pushing and sort of working with me and other colleagues at ICHCAP and UNESCO to put together the draft and make it. So I think I needed to recognize these people who are behind the scene but really making this wonderful workshop. I'm really excited. And as I said, the journey is not over, but I think this has been a good beginning. I would also like to just recognize the wonderful support that has been extended by Mr. Park and Dr. Hanh throughout this, and they are here. We'll get to hear from them as well. And thanks to the participants for your very enthusiastic participation. I feel like, I usually have a small class of 15 students at a time, but here more than 50. But that had been fun. So thanks a lot to you. Now with that extra time that I took, I would like to move on to the formal validatory session. Let me first invite Dr. Hanh, Duong Bich Hanh from the UNESCO Bangkok. She had been very passionately listening to all your presentations. So I would like to also ask her to give some remarks to the presentations that were there. And hopefully she would also join in some of the consultation session in the future. So we'll be meeting with her again, but I would like her to speak on behalf of UNESCO Bangkok as well. Hanh, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Neil. Thank you to everyone who have been involved to make this workshop an excellent experience for everyone. And of course, you were two bodies, but we should really say thank you to you as well, Neil, for really convening this whole collaboration and partnership. So thank you, and of course all other partners, our ICHCAP, other colleagues, ICHCAP colleagues, other colleagues at Ahmedabad, especially Bhavi. I also agree with Neil that you have done an excellent job. So congratulations. And really congratulations to all the participants who are here with us today and who for some reason might not be able to join us today. It was really a great pleasure to listen to all the presentations that you did this morning. And especially it was even like really a more surprise for me because I was not able to join on Friday and also during the weekend when you have other bilateral sessions with the organizing and some of the resource people. So congratulations to all of you. You have developed an excellent set of very complex project. So it is really nice to see that the topics have been brought up in the workshop, have inspired you to give you ideas and about the direction of your projects. And also it is really nice to see that some of you have actually rework the projects that you have been working on as well. That is really something that I find also very excellent because it is really show that, yes, I mean, there's always more to learn. And it is really nice that our workshop had been able to give you that opportunity to learn more about the subject and the topics that you are very passionate about. So many of you, or all of you have identified very concretely the topics, the elements that you would like to work on. You focus a lot on the inventory and documentation process of the work, which will be very important because this is really when we can access the viability of the element, which will be really something essential information that we need to develop the safeguarding and transmission plans for these ICH elements. But then also let's remember that the documentation and inventory would be only the beginning. We are not ready developing to projects to do inventory for the sake of inventory, because it doesn't really matter how many inventories that we will be doing, but unless the inventory would lead to some actions, and it doesn't really mean much, especially for the community. Maybe it would mean for higher education system who always needs this kind of information, but then if we want to put the key target and the key stakeholder of our work is the local community, then we would need to have a step beyond the documentation and inventory process. And that leads to the next point that I wanted to bring up, and that came out quite strongly from many of the presentations that you did, is the sustainability aspect of the projects. So we all learned about all these different goals. Many of you in your presentation also highlight what kind of goals of the 2030 agenda you will be contributing to. But really, we would really like to learn from you, maybe when you developed and when you implement the project, is how this kind of contribution can be realized on the ground. Because as we see that, yes, no matter how much we do, how much external partner to do, but until the communities really continue to see the relevance of these ICH elements in their lives that can make their life better, whether it's livelihood, whether it's their well-being, whether it's environmental health, social cohesion, whatever, until that really have that anchor in the community, and we cannot really be so certain that when you leave your project, it will continue to live on. Because the project, the different ICH element had been survived for many, many generations, and because it has a certain meanings in the community. So let's try to continue that principle and aspects of this ICH safeguarding. And that also very much related to the fact that how our work can continue to, or can revive it by creating an enabling environment for this ICH to live, so that when you leave the project, because you probably would not be there and work on the projects forever. And so when you leave, that we can guarantee that, yes, there would be somewhat that enabling environments that for the ICH to live on, whether that is to the policy level, whether it's to engage that with the local institutions and communities. And again, it's really something meaningful for the community. The fourth point that Neil also mentioned after every presentation this morning almost is really how we bring the community to the center point of all this work. So that some of you are members of communities, so that's great, but then some of you are not. And so how you could engage the communities and how you could ensure that the benefits for all this work doesn't necessarily have to be the financial benefits, but all these benefits that you think that you could get out of this process could be somehow shared with the communities and have the communities become a part of that. And one of the last one is some of you have identified partners, which is great. I think I remember one of you even identified funding sources, which will be very important because most of the projects we would need some sort of support. You probably would not be able to do it alone. So I'm also very happy to see that some of you have already actually talking to your partners. So it's not just a project that you are writing in paper, in theory. So please keep up that good work as well, because this is really something important that would hopefully go beyond this next 1 month, because the partnership that you will be creating would be really essential when you implement the project. Because in 1 month you would have the final project proposal, but then you probably have to take 2 years, 3 years, 5 years to implement this. So that the resources and the partners that you will be identified during this initial stage will be very important. And lastly, that I got inspired by what Bobby had talked about, so that how that we are doing research and not just for the sake of research, but how you benefit the real practical level. And you would really wanted to see the actual case studies and actual work that you are developing, because I think that would be coming back and that would become something quite useful, I believe, for higher educations to pick up, to teach in their programs, as well as like for UNESCO. We continuously trying to have a more and better in-depth understanding about how the ICH work on the ground level, what is connection with the sustainable development. So we would really look forward to learning from you, again, not only during the next month, but also after that, so that we could really continue to document this knowledge and understanding, so that eventually that could be fruitful and beneficial for everyone involved. So that was just some of the random thought that after hearing your very complex and interesting presentations. And once again, I would like to thank all the partners, all the participants for making this such a great journey, and good luck with the next month when you finalize the presentation, and especially good luck with the next process when you implement these projects. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Hanh, for very useful feedback to all the participants, and also for your overall remarks on behalf of UNESCO Bangkok. Now, may I invite Professor Ashoke Chatterjee. Professor Chatterjee is the advisor at the Center for Heritage Management, Ahmedabad University, and he's also the chief editor of the Journal for Heritage Management that Ahmedabad University Center for Heritage Management publishes with SAGE Publications. He's also the honorary president of the Crafts Council of India. So, Professor Chatterjee, over to you.
Thank you, Neil, and thank you also for the reference to the Journal of Heritage Management. I think after such a rich workshop, we should have some excellent material to put into the next volume of the journal. And perhaps the journal can help track this journey, which, as Dr. Hanh has pointed out, is just beginning and indicates a long period of effort. Going back to what Bharvi had mentioned, and where she underlined the importance of research as practice, when I look at the project outlines that you have shared with us, Neil, I'm really impressed at the range of heritage activities that participants are suggesting as projects. I would suggest that perhaps one of the most immediate things that we could do, if it's not already been done, or perhaps it's already been done at the workshops, is to look at the impact of the pandemic on each of these areas, and whether those communities that are involved with this range of activity and of concern and of identity, what has been the impact of the pandemic, and what do they suggest as the importance of action now to support the communities that are involved. Several of the projects concern communities who are either today have been or are in the risk of direct impact by climate change. I refer to the reference to Majuli Island in Assam, the future of grass crafts in Lumbini, which depend on natural resources, the fishing community in the Philippines, along with fishing communities throughout Asia, or I should say throughout the world, which are so threatened today by the impact of climate change. The tea workers of Assam and others that have been pointed out, even the cuisine of Nepal. How are all of these being affected by two phenomena which now confront us, the challenge of the pandemic and the challenge of climate change, which are certainly related. The other issue which Dr. Hanh has also pointed out is the one of relevance to communities. I think throughout this workshop, there has been a strong concern of empowering communities to take charge and take ownership of their own heritage on their own terms. So what is needed to ensure that communities are empowered? Earlier, there was talk about the importance of technology and of capacity building at the community level. So what does that suggest in these project areas? What do these communities need at this point in order to take these projects into the future? Is there any feedback from them? And if so, what is it that, that we can do to assist these communities as these projects unfold? And in that process, will we be able to perhaps underline for the international community as well as for our own authorities and our own governments and partners how critical culture is to the resilience of human beings and of communities and societies to stand up to what we have heard Ashish Kothare and Ionis and others tell us, is that we are in for a long period of change and of crises. So within the reality that turbulence is something that we have to live with, culture has emerged during this pandemic as an extraordinary force for human resilience. Now we need to get that understood by others. How are we going to do that? Can we draw on the experiences that these projects represent, as well as on the documentation that others have done? Dr. Ashish Kothare shared with us his amazing documentation of what communities in India have gone through during the pandemic and how they have survived and flourished as by drawing on their heritage. So I think the importance of integrating culture into systems of disaster management and crisis management is critical. And that too needs to be done through the partnerships that Dr. Hanh emphasized. We can't do this alone. All of us need partners, and we need partners perhaps outside the heritage sector, and to link these networks together so that we can have some collective strength. And I think this is where the Sustainable Development Goals offer us a great opportunity, because these goals point out to the importance of integrated action towards human well-being and towards challenging the status quo that Neil had pointed out in an earlier session. So what can be done to build local community action and to support and empower local activists? What is the role of technology in this process? Each of these projects, do they require digital technology support and training? If so, how can that be extended to them? What about the need to re-examine the democratic and legal processes that these communities are facing, often at great risk? Because if the object of this entire exercise is to empower communities to take charge, then are the present frameworks in our society supportive of that empowerment, or do they resist that? The fishing communities that were mentioned in the Philippines, I can certainly tell you from the Indian experience, they are one of the most threatened communities in our country. And not having the power and the influence which they should, although we have this long coastline, but they're still at the margins, and they're at such risk now with climate change. So I think we need to look at our social and governance systems, which will also include issues that I know that you have raised in your discussions of culture, not only as a support to communities, but as their right. We're moving into a human rights situation, and we need to be aware of that, along with all the implications that there are in terms of gender and other benchmarks for a more equitable society. And in the process, I wonder whether there are opportunities in each of these projects to involve local schools and to involve local institutions like museums. Can schools and museums and local research institutions and universities and colleges, can they be partners to help build up the kind of enabling environment that Dr. Hanh spoke of, so that the relevance of this activity to not just communities, but to the societies and to the nations of which these communities are a part becomes evident and helps sustain this work in the future. So good luck. This is very exciting. And thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Chatterjee, as always, for inspiring with your thoughts and remarks, also bringing in your experience, but also observations about the current times, but also thinking forward to the future. Earlier, you all have heard him during the panel discussion session on the ICH and pandemic, which he moderated very kindly. I think that has been very helpful. And if needed, we can also count on him for further advice as we develop the project proposals, because his advice to the center has been very supportive, very helpful for our journey from the very beginning, almost 10 years back. So with that, vote of thanks to Professor Chatterjee. Now I would like to invite Mr. Weonmo Park, and since we are meeting him formally first time in the workshop, let me take some moments to introduce him. Mr. Weonmo Park is the director of the Office of Cooperation and Networking at ICHCAP. He has a BA in education from Yonsei University. Later, he studied for an MA in education at Yonsei University and MA in anthropology, Rikyo University in Japan. He finished his PhD coursework in anthropology at the same university in Japan. His professional area is comparative of folk performing arts, especially religious performing arts in Korea and Japan. He previously worked in the National Research Institute of Cultural Heritage and Cultural Heritage Foundation in Korea. He is also currently working as an adjunct professor at the Korea National University of Cultural Heritage. And needless to say, he has been a key mentor behind this program. And in some ways, this is also his core idea. So with that thanks and that introduction, I would invite Mr. Park for his valedictory address. Mr. Park, over to you.
Thank you, Professor Nirkama. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. I am here on behalf of all of ICHCAP staff members to say thank you. ICHCAP has appreciated the engagement that you all have actively participated in this workshop. This workshop has been proactive in coming to grips with the current circumstance regarding intangible cultural heritage with the various lens. For example, its convention, nomination, gender issue, its contribution to sustainable development, its influence on local economy, industry, and tourism, ICHN education, and so forth. We have also better understand the present conditions and future expectations given to the ICH field. I hope this expensive 2-week workshop provided young professionals and researchers like you with a place for learning and networking with ICH as an important educational event. Especially as an earlier integral part of this workshop, the workshop participants joined the World ICH Forum entitled Rediscovering Intangible Cultural Heritage in the Era of Convergence and Creativity. Thanks to your active participation in this forum's discussion section, the event could become more prosperous and meaningful. This year's forum was a new attempt for ICHCAP as well. The mode of showing the event was not just online, but also with metaverse and virtual reality. Moreover, each theme was linked with the fourth industrial revolution, allowing us to contemplate ICH as a living heritage, changing by fitting into the contemporary socio-cultural background. I would like to remind you of a side event of the forum that we had. As you know, the 2021 Intangible Cultural Heritage Youth Summit was held on the second day of the forum. It was a free event for launching ICH Youth Forum. The side event aimed to establish a network and strengthen information exchange among young leaders who are active in ICH field in every country. So please pay attention to the official launch of the ICH Youth Forum next autumn in 2022. If you have interest and requires in joining this youth forum, please get in touch with the ICHCAP. Last but not least, I thank the co-organizers, Ahmedabad University, especially Professor Neil Kama, and UNESCO Bangkok office, especially Dr. Duong Bich, for showing enthusiasm and effort to develop and implement the workshop program. And again, wish to express my gratitude to you all for coming to this online ICH workshop and sharing your experience and thoughts. I hope to see you again at 2022 workshop in next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Park. You have already told us that there will be some continuity of this kind of learning opportunities. So I think we can all look forward to that. So with that, we formally come to the close of this 2 weeks long workshop. But as Dr. Hanh also mentioned, the journey continues. So thank you very much. We will formally close. But since we have some time and Barbie and I would have to communicate with you, we'll stay in the room for some time so that if you have any questions, we can answer. So thank you very much, and we'll be in touch. So the formal session is over. So those of you who have other engagements can leave. But those of you who have some questions, you would like to just interact with us for 10 more minutes, we are here. If you have any questions, we can discuss our follow-up activities. And Ginny, if you have any announcements, anything to share, we can also, this is free time, so we can share any updates. Or perhaps if I may ask if you have any feedback to the workshop as well, because Varvi will be writing to you by email, so you will send your anonymous feedback. But if you want to say out something loud, this is your opportunity. So please raise your hand and we can ask you to come on the screen. Yes, Liana, please go ahead.
Can we ask for the recording of the
Yes,
session?
Varvi is working on that. We will get a link for watching all the recordings soon.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And Jinhee, should we take a picture of whoever is here in this session? Can all of us?
We should do, yeah.
Yeah, can all of us turn on our videos so that we can see each other?
Neil,
okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir, please.
If any of those who are working on these projects feels the need for drawing on experience elsewhere in the areas in which they are working, or they think that they have something they can share, I hope we have a system where their needs and concerns can be shared, because many of the themes that they're going to work on are relevant across regions. And there are many others who are working on similar themes. So perhaps we can do something to connect young people to sources of support and knowledge, or of others who can benefit from what they're doing in the field.
Yes, sir, absolutely. So one of the objectives of the workshop was also to build a network, because I think that is also at the core of ICHCAP's activities. The ICHCAP is really supporting not just the university networks, but also NGO network and communities network. So that is the agenda. Right. What has happened during this exercise is that the participants also had a chance to join some other groups if they feel like that. So despite the initial submission, they had the opportunity to change mind and group. So there is already a bit of networking happening through that. And this morning we heard that they were also already interacting among each other. That's very nice to hear. What Varvi and we are planning is to also facilitate that networking if there is a need. So depending, we don't want to impose on everybody, but those who are interested, we are certainly facilitating that. And it was also wonderful to see this morning that some of the participants had actually crossed the boundary to join other countries' projects. So that's, I think, wonderful, and I think that spirit is there. But that's a great reminder. Thank you. Any other thoughts? Any comments? Any questions? This is 0 hour, so before we adjourn, we can use a few minutes to just be interacting. Yanis, would you like to say anything?
It was a pleasure for all this journey, because it was a journey. I think that the structure of the workshop was very good, and also the diversity of the presentations, both of the, let's say, of the organizers, but also from the participants, were very diverse, and each one was focusing on a different area and perspective of the safeguarding of intangible cultural heritage and sustainable development. And that was very good. And I think we should, as everybody says, we should, each individual, but also we should get to the next step. And of course, the Center for Heritage Management can help in collaboration with all organizing bodies, etc., to help with this moving to the next step. This was my comments, my concluding comments. Thank you once again to everybody.
Thank you, Yanis. Any thoughts, any feedback from the participants? I'm seeing some comments on the chat, but anybody would like to speak up? No, I think this has already been a long morning. Okay, Varvi, do you have any housekeeping announcement, or otherwise we can adjourn? Okay, I see one hand raised, Mr. Chandra Prakash.
thank you for this wonderful workshop. I participated in this workshop and I got to know more about ICH. I was before this workshop, I was always thinking how can I use the culture of my community so that it can be used for development of the community. So when I heard about the ICH and ICHCAP, and these things are happening somewhere, so I was not aware about this. So, but I was always thinking to use culture for development, and it was really wonderful for me to know about this ICH and inventorying and sustainable development can be achieved from culture also. So it was very wonderful, and thank you again. I would like to participate again if such workshops are happening. I want to learn more. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pathak. As I was thinking to close it, I see more hands. So let's go to Gunjan now, and then Ginny.
Yeah, this is like a final thank you for this brilliant workshop to all the partners. I mean, this has been really helpful in understanding so many various aspects of ICH that we've already been working on. But just as a question specifically to say Bharvi and Professor Neil Kamal, how do we kind of book our slots with you in terms of further discussing the project or discussing the scope of the project? Will there be an announcement? Will there be an email or something?
Yes, so Bharvi will shortly send an email and she will also give you options for different slots. So we all understand you are all busy. So we'll give you different dates and different time slots so you can pick one. It will be on a first come, first served basis. But before that, the condition is that you will have to send us the updated brief so that we can do our homework. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you so much, Vansa.
Thank you. Ginny.
Okay, Neil, thank you very much for everybody. And from ICHCAP side, we want to continue this workshop annually, if it is possible, with the cooperation with the Ahmedabad team and also UNESCO Bangkok office. So we are going to discuss about this later on. And I think personally, it was really overwhelming workshop. Actually, it is 2 week, very intensive event. I think among the whole of the events ICHCAP has experienced from the long period. It was the longest event, I think, for this kind of event, educational event. So it was touching and it is very informative and very inspirational event. And also I've learned a lot of from this workshop. So thank you very much, Neil and Ahmedabad team, and especially Barbie. And I hope to see you on this kind of workshop, not just as the staff member, but also kind of a young professional, having studied and having been studying now. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ginny. I agree with you that, not only the staff at ICHCAP, but also the faculty and staff and students at Ahmedabad University, we take these opportunities at both ways of learning, So I think all the lecturers would also agree with me that more and more we interact with people from different background and different countries through these workshops. These are really enriching opportunities for us, but I must say that, ICHCAP really supporting all these kind of activities in the Asia Pacific region has really brought out a massive positive change. At least I can say that with confidence based on my own experience for the past few years. Like, for example, for this workshop also, the moment we came to know about the World ICS Forum, we couldn't resist but to, ride on that free event that was to us. So I think it was 2 weeks long workshop, but I think we're also getting some of it for free from the other event. And I think ICHCAP was very kind enough to allow us to, overlap with those. I think there is synergies. So very wonderful. I think ICHCAP's, the mission of networking and information sharing is really taking all these activities and the profession to the next height. Very wonderful. Thank you to all the ICHCAP team once again. I see a hand from Ruth DaCosta.
Yeah, greetings from Ahmedabad. I'm close by to all of you. I just want to convey my first thank you all of you for this wonderful, it has been an extremely enlightening journey, and the experience has been tremendous. I just have a slight apprehension because I am from the tourism industry, and I have now participated with in Nepal with Chandra Prakash Pathak, who just spoke. So I just feel I would need extra help and guidance from you all, to be able, as I'm coordinating overseas, in the neighboring country. So I'm just a little bit apprehensive, but I would need a little bit of guidance from you all as we coordinate and get along. So I look forward to that.
Certainly, I think there is a scope in doing that, and perhaps all of us are looking for such kind of support. So thank you.
Yeah, and I think just to add that this would have been only possible through digital technologies. If we were on ground, I don't think these kind of networkings would have been so effective to such an extent. So thank you once again for being such good spirits and coming up with such wonderful collaborations. Yeah.
Yes, I think the challenge was because when we originally planned this workshop, it was supposed to be in person. I don't know, Mr. Park, if you remember that conversation we had last year, or we were hoping that we'll be able to gather in Ahmedabad or somewhere. But I think we took it. The challenge was converted into an opportunity, and I think this is the opportunity that Barbie just said that this is how we will grow. So hopefully next workshop we'll get to see each other somewhere, sometime. So that's the hope. So any final comments? Otherwise, we can close this session. It has been wonderful, almost 3 hours. Or more.
Just one comment. I read one of the chats asking about the presentations. So we are in the process. We are in the final process of gathering all the presentations from the lecturers, and along with the YouTube links of the sessions, we will also be sharing the entire booklet of all the other presentations as well. So you will have all these resources along with the workshop booklet that has already been shared in the beginning. So,
right. Just a disclaimer there. If in case some of the lecturers had some materials which cannot be shared that way because of the copyright issue or all that, those will be exempted. Otherwise, you will have as much as possible all the resources sent to you. But please bear with me because in this part of the world, this is also festive season, so people are getting busy. We have our semesters running, so please bear with us. But we'll get back to you with the updates and the resources. So with that, thank you very much. And at least with the participants, we will be in touch. And hopefully this will all be very helpful to all of us. Thank you very much.